So I have one arm between my legs. My main objective in the beginning is to take both hands between my legs, one on the lapel, 4 fingers go in, and one on the belt. Right here. Alright, so I'm holding. Now my legs kind of curl around the body for control. So here, I have a lot of leverage to use my legs and my hips to control my opponent. So a lot of things that happen right away, most commonly, is one, he's going to try to lift his head against my leg. So when he lifts his head against my leg, if I don't do anything, he's going to keep looking around like this and just pass around. So when he lifts his head, I pull on the lapel and I straighten my leg. Alright, so my leg becomes a lot stronger than his head when I do this. You'll notice how my hip also floats to the outside, the same side that I'm pushing on. So if I'm square right now and he lifts his head and I push, my hip floats to that side. Alright, that's what I want. If he starts to lift his hip up, like he possibly might be trying to walk around like this, or maybe even possibly rolling, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I pull on the belt and I stomp this leg down. So here to here, and my hip's going to float out to that side a little bit. So whether he lifts his head or lifts his hip, I basically pull on that side and stomp that leg and allow my hip to float out to that side. So let's see it again. If he goes up with the head, I'm here. If he goes up with the hip, I'm here. Alright? Now, within the basic control, once again right now, stage 1, I'm grabbing the lapel and the belt. Another thing that I want to be doing with this arm is I like to put my elbow to his arm right here if I can, so I get a little pinch. So I could be like this, where my arm's kind of floating, but I'm actually going to control his arm with that. So I loop it around and get a good pinch, and this really isolates and keeps his arm stuck here. And I'll do that sometimes because I want him to feel the pressure of that, and that encourages him sometimes to take the arm out, and that's things I'm going to want him to do later, alright? So I just want him to feel nice and trapped right now. I don't want him to be able to pass his arm across like that. One other thing that people try to do sometimes is bring it through the legs like that. I don't want him to do that right now, alright? So to help prevent it, once again, instead of just letting my arm float, I actually take my elbow and I kind of crush into his arm so it's nice and tight. Now also my heels. I want my heels to stay tight. So they're hugging like this. So when this position is controlled, when he lifts his head, I stomp that side, keep my heel tight. When he lifts his hip, I stomp that side and keep it tight. Last thing that we're going to do is we're going to let him roll. If he rolls, I just want to roll with him. And I keep rolling. We come back to the same position. Alright? So once again, when he rolls, I just go with him. Look, I have control. You see how slow he rolls? Because I have control of him. I'm just going to roll on my forehead, my shoulder, and come around. So we're back in position again. Alright? So once again, it's just stage 1 control that we're focusing on right now. And we basically just want to do a very light, kind of soft drill with it. So the partner that's stuck in position will be lifting their head, lifting their hips, trying to circle around, and trying to roll. Kind of just nice and easy right now while you're practicing how to control, alright? Make sure right now, guys, once again, like I use the keywords nice and easy. I want you to go slow. I want you to take your time so that you can feel, the guy to be able to identify if he moves his head, so I want to extend on that side, and then on the hip on that side. Just go nice and easy, because it's all about learning and feeling comfortable with the position right now, right? So here's what the drill should look like one more time. So I have his arm between my legs right now, just grabbing the lapel. Make sure, sometimes people get confused and they're grabbing like the outside. Make sure you're grabbing on the inside of your leg, both hands. Because a lot of times, a lot of guys are coming here and you're on the outside. I want to be on the inside right now. Okay, so with hands on the belt and the lapel, on the inside of my legs. Heels tight. Elbow around the arm, trapping the arm. Now he's just going to lightly start to move around. Lifting his head, I straighten my leg on that side. Lifting his hips, extend the hip on that side. Maybe trying to pressure around my head a little bit more, like circling. Same thing as activating this leg right now. If he rolls, try to control it. Roll slowly. with him. He's just gonna kind of slightly just keep playing around, letting me feel and work a little bit. Make sure that you're, on this side, guys, that you're not like heel floating off. All right, I want to always keep this tight over here. It makes it harder for me to grab my foot. Another common thing that we'll talk about later, just keep it tight. All right. So for no certain amount of time, just kind of do like a few work through it a few times, and then switch positions. We'll do this for a little while, and then we'll move on. Any questions? Once again, just go easy right now, all right, guys? So go ahead and find a partner, get the starting position, and play around a little bit. All right, let's say he's lifting his head up a little bit. And I'm activating here on this side. See my foot? Right now, he might want to try to grab my foot. I'm trying to push it off and get his head out, all right? Okay, so number one, we'll talk about this later, but easy submission, right? If he does that again, or here, I have this grip already. His hand's on my foot, he pushes his head out, he's trying to center up. I'm coming here right away. Hey. I already have the grip, and his hands were both tied up. So I'm an easy neck attack. Easy cross chip, right? But as far as keeping my leg there, same thing, he's pushing his head up and activating, and he's pushing. I want to make sure that my knee is turned in, like this, so that, we lift my foot one time, so that I can kick my foot this direction. I don't want my foot to go up or out. I want it to go in, right? Do you think my leg is stronger or his arm is stronger, right? So I also have the extra torque here. So when he goes to put his hand on my ankle again, if my knee's turned in and I kick this way, he's pushing. Go ahead and push hard. It's very hard for him to actually get my leg off, all right? And then what I'll do a lot of times is we're fighting for the moment, and then I actually loop it off and come back around again. So I have to fight him for maybe a couple seconds, but since he's pushing, I'm gonna circle it down and just come right back around. So again, we're here. He starts to lift his head. I wanna make sure my knees turn in, my hip is out, but I am pushing. He grabs my foot. So now if he tries to push off, I push against it like this, and then I loop and come back around again. That pretty much takes care of it every time, all right? So one more time. He's lifting his head. I'm activating here, making sure my knee's pointed in so that my leg kicks in towards the feet. He grabs my foot. We fight, we fight, we fight. I circle around and center back up. All right? The other thing is when people put their butt on the floor. So he's sitting his head up and putting his butt down like this. All right? So it's just kind of like another position that he might work towards. I'm still able to push on the head if I want to and defend. Pulling on the lapel. If he starts to sit through really hard, it's the same thing as a roll pretty much. I roll right here. Keep tight. If I want to, I can keep rolling. And just go where he goes. I'm going to follow him wherever he goes. Using my handles and my legs. When I roll, I'm going to step out for just a second. When I roll, John was saying he has a hard time rolling over his head. So when you come here, you roll like this. Tuck your chin and put your forehead on the floor. Because you'll see even when you're practicing by yourself, if I come here with my forehead on the floor, I can move my hips and knees easy. Whereas if I have like my face and chin on the floor like this is very uncomfortable and hard to do. So when you're rolling, tuck your chin, put your forehead down. That's going to allow me to move smoother in the transition, all right? So forehead to the floor on those. So one common thing that happens a lot is they try to push the foot off. And as I say, guys, the angle of your knee is what's important right there. Make sure your knee is pointed towards the legs, towards the hips. So when he goes to push out, you're able to kick in. And as he's pushing out, you can just loop it right back around, all right? If he's trying to sit out and sit hard, we can just roll in that direction as well. Roll with him. Let me do that one more time. So if he starts to sit his hip through very hard and his head up, what's he trying to do right here? Right? He's trying to possibly come around if he can. So So I'm fighting. He might know that I like to have him up, so he's trying to maybe even put his back on the floor. Sometimes he does a desperation kind of move, and then we're here. All right. I'm just moving with him. If I want to come back, I just walk my shoulder, boom, and re-stomp. Right. So he does it again. Pull the shoulder in, and re-stomp it down. If he goes even harder, you try to put it back to the floor. We just go. I'll stay here. I don't care where are you gonna go next time. He's moving. I'm just going. He keeps going. I'm just letting him carry me. All I'm doing is holding on, right? I don't have to force myself anywhere. He's not getting out, right? And right now we're doing extreme cases. Like I say, inescapable position. You know, you can hold people here for a long time, but you don't need to, right? There's a lot of submission from here, you know, so there's a lot of ways to maintain the position, hold them here for a long time, very difficult to get out of, especially stage 2, but we don't need to hold people here. We're going to hold them long enough to submit them, right? And they're going to give you so many submission options as you're trying all these escapes. That's what I found to be the best thing about it, is the submissions actually come very easy, and that's what I like about it, right? So keep doing as we were doing, but add grabbing the foot, trying to push that off with the details there. Add the guy possibly trying to sit through this way a little bit more, maybe coming around, or maybe trying to come out this way. So just kind of follow your guy, you know, go where he goes, and you know, feel what he does and see how it works out for you. All right. If you're here again, he sat out. Remember, pull, bring your shoulders in, and it's almost just like a little granny roll, and you're right back in position. So he's got his head up, hips down. Pull your shoulders in. Turn in, and you're right back in position again. All right. So let's feel that out a few more times, and then we'll start looking at stage 2. All right. If I have time, over here, and he sits his hips to the floor, lifts his head up. We're kind of coming backwards. He's putting his back down. We're coming here. Okay, I don't need to do anything. I'm nice and tight. In fact, if I want to, like get sweep points, I can get sweep points by disengaging my leg and coming on top. Right? I just got the sweep. Okay? But if I'm just trying to control and stay here, if we're just focusing on the position itself right now, control, I make him do all the work. So now he's going to move, and I'm just going to follow. Let him move. Just follow over his head. And we're here. Right? But he's doing the work, not me. I'm just holding on. Okay, but if that were to happen, I can easily disengage and take him out of position. Went from a good position to another good position, right? Now with stage 2, I can get to stage 2 from stage 1. I can kind of climb and work my way there if I want to. But a lot of times, like when we do entries, which we'll see later, we'll see how to go directly to stage 2 as well. Stage 2, being here, I basically keep a hold of the belt right now, come to my forearm, keep my hips out a little bit, and come to my hand. Alright? My heel, guys, remember my heel's always trying to hide as much as possible. I'm not relaxed over here. I'm always hiding. Reach across to the lapel, grab the lapel and pull it out. So I have a smart side lapel, and pull it across his back. Sitting back, I'm going to hold this one with 2 hands. I'm going to just pull this as tight as I can possibly get it. Like this. Alright, so this does a lot for the position because it really isolates this shoulder and arm a lot. It really kind of eliminates a lot of his range of motion by having this lapel grip. So I'm here. Bang, pull that nice and tight. So now all the same things apply. He starts to try to lift his head. I isolate that leg. He tries to lift his hips. Isolate this side, the hips kind of float out just like before. If he tries to roll, it's hard, but I just go, right? If he tries to sit the hips back, I just go. Like this move, I'm always trying to base on my forehead, so I have this space here that I can allow myself to move better if I want to move it. Like if I want to disengage, I can. Because I'm giving myself the space to do it. If he keeps fighting to move. The good thing about this is I can always let go with one hand if I need to. right? Because I have the control of the lapel already. I can switch hands anytime I want. I can base if I want. I'm never losing any of this tightness here, because I always have good control, all right? So all the same things apply. If it pushes on my foot. Okay, now I want to make sure my knee goes in, kick the foot up. Sometimes it peels out that way. Sometimes I gotta loop it around and send it back up, all right? So everything that we've done already works just the same pretty much here, except I have a little bit more liberty now to let go and to base or to grab or do things if I need to, all right? Another thing to be aware of is, once again, elbow to his arm. Don't just float the arms, curl the elbow down. And I like to try to keep this elbow tight as well. For later, as we'll see, if I want him to bring his arm across, I want my arm to be on the underside, so I keep my elbow down. My elbow's up, he might get it under my arm, which isn't really my preference, all right? So just try to keep the elbows tight. One blocking on this one, and too tight here. So let's see how to get there one more time from stage one. So here we're nice and tight. In the base of the forearm. Scoop my hips out a little bit, put it in my hand. Reach across, grab the lapel. Like if you've been grabbing around, the lapel's already out, it's really easy to grab, right? Sit back, pull it nice and tight with two hands. All right, once again, my heel, I'm trying to hide up here when always possible. If it gets a hold of my foot, like John had the question, that's when, my knee's coming in to make sure that I can defend against this. I don't want my knee to be out when he has my foot over. This head will pop right out. Knee goes in, so I can fight this direction, boom, 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 and get it out, all right? So everything else is the same as we saw before. Another thing that I wanted to comment on that Adam and Josh brought up earlier, when we were going from stage one to stage two, I was sitting up, coming over top, pulling the lapel out. Another thing that happens frequently is when he puts that hip on the floor again, lifts his head, and we're kind of here, and just climbing and pulling it out here. Like right now, this is pretty tight, but sometimes it's loose. It just comes right out. Right here, right? We go back. Now that it's loose, he does that, he sits out, boom, I grab the lapel, pull it around, and I can just get it right here, and that's fine too. So we're here. This is just another way of getting to stage two. So let's start in stage one. Yes?
I have one question.
Yes?
So the transition to grab the lapel, you're letting go on both the collar and the belt. So you let go of the collar first, and then after you let go of the belt, is there anything Tom can do during that transition? I mean, is there a weight placement or something that you really...
I'm leaning towards his head. So here. Keep holding the belt right now. I'm just over top of him. You know what I mean? Like, so if he tries, let's say he wants to roll right now. No, I'm still good. Just doing everything in the process.
Okay.
Just gotta stay connected, that's all.
Thanks.
But it is difficult for him to even roll if I don't really want him to, because I'm still over top, right?
Thanks.
But I kind of like it when people try to roll. I think it makes the grip sometimes easier to get, and for certain things to sink in deeper when they're actually trying to rolling it out. And it's just, am I prepared for that, right? If I'm not expecting somebody to try to roll here, then they may get out. But if that's what I'm expecting them to do, and I'm prepared to move on, it's good.
Thank you.
All right, so start with stage one, just work into stage two, and then continue the same things and just feel it out a little bit. Then we're going to start feeding in some of the submissions off of these things that they're doing. All right, guys? Yeah, guys, here's an idea of what the position looks like live, all right? Just kind of thinking about the position itself, stage one and stage two. Good. So you can see I have very good control, and for me this started out as a stage 1 technique. I started doing it as stage 1, didn't even have stage 2 in my mind yet. And through the drills and through rolling around, I discovered stage 2. I was even better. All right, so I've also come up with ways to go directly to stage 2. All right, so I'm going to show you guys that when I do entries, ways to get to the rodeo control.